Well, it's officially spring this week and the hyacinths are blooming. They are so gorgeous. And I kind of just dipped into my imagination and I brought these hyacinths inside, put them in a couple of pots of my imagination and began to paint. And I just invite you to jump in this first week of spring with blues and purples and a bit of that golden yellow that's so familiar to us or refamiliar as the spring starts. Enjoy this fun, beautiful painting as we welcome spring, and I certainly hope that even if it's a little bit cold in your area, that spring is starting to pop. All right, again, just grab a couple colors. I am painting on a 6x9 today, and let's start painting. Hi everyone. Well, here we are. It is the first week of spring. In fact, this is coming out, I think, the day before spring actually starts. And so I thought we would just paint some beautiful hyacinths. So what I've done is I have just really sketched out some hyacinths. As you can see, I did not put tons of detail. I was really going for their just distinguishing features of all those blooms, especially when they first come up. They hardly, they're not in full flower form yet, right? We have a couple of eager flowers here, but most of them are tight buds. And I saw a bunch last week when I was in 28th Street, where that historic flower district is, and there was just rows of hyacinths. And I thought we should paint these in just a simple watercolor sketch. So you can see I wasn't trying to be super focused on perfection with my. I've got my pots, I have some of those stems coming out, I have a flower that's fallen, and I've placed these two on a table. You could certainly just do one, right? Maybe make it a little bit bigger as well. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and start getting my paint ready. What I thought we were going to do is I saw hyacinths of all like beautiful, gorgeous blues and purples and bright pinks and fuchsias. But I thought, you know what, let's just go for kind of a pink, a pink and purple aesthetic today. So I've got a couple blues. I have a cerulean blue. I have an ultramarine blue. I have a phthalo blue here. So I'm going to get them all nice and moist. And I'm also going to get my purple moist here too, so you can see that. I changed the position of my recording today and catching some natural light without as many shadows, so I think it's a beautiful day. The sun is kind of, it's not fully out, it's hidden by some clouds, but sometimes that can be nice. We don't have so many shadows. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paint the background first today, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint it with just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to paint with yellow. I've already changed my mind because there's just a few. There's a little bit of yellow in the paint in the flowers that I was noticing. So I am going to go ahead and I have got some cadmium yellow. I'm going to do just a little bit at like the center of this flower right here, and then this one here. And I've got one over here. And so wherever you have your open flowers, go ahead and dab a little bit of yellow in them. And maybe even along the stems, I'm going to move my tea. I hope you have something lovely to drink, some tea or some coffee, as we do a little bit of painting in the margins is what I refer to these YouTube videos, because we're just taking about 15 minutes or so and playing. This is really all about playing with paint and with flowers and capturing the sketches and just really digging into those creative gifts that we are given, but they need some practice, right? Most of us are not Mozart, where we have these amazing gifts at a young age, but I have found most people have incredible gifts. They just need a bit of practice. And so these 15 minutes are a bit of fun, a bit of practice, creating in the margins. Sometimes I don't have hours and hours to paint, but I can find a couple of 15-minute sessions. Okay, and I am going to just move. I'm going to pick up some water here, and I'm actually going to just lightly do almost a wash here, where I'm not covering it in like a lot of yellow. I want the yellow to be a little bit almost at the center, and then a lighter color out, because I'm even thinking too of where the eye is going to go when they look at this painting. Okay, and I'm just moving around here and moving around. Okay, so now that we have that set, let's go ahead and pick up some purple and blue. And I'm going to take my purple first, and I'm just going to go ahead and actually paint this pot. We're just going to do a little bit of a purple pot. I almost turned these into coffee cups, right? Because then I thought, you know, because some hyacinths are rather small when they start off, and at the last minute I changed my mind. But I think these would be really cute coffee cups, right? I think so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do purple, and I'm actually going to add in some blue. So I'm just going to pick up some blue, and we're just going to have kind of a purple bluish pot here. And it really is going to create a bit, not of quite the periwinkle, but a little bit of that beautiful periwinkle blue. And I'm going to pick a little bit of blue in this one here. There we go. I don't want purple to be the main color. I want it to be more of a supporting color. If you can see the back, go ahead and go on the back like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up a little bit of the same colors in the flower that fell here. I'm going to go ahead and paint that in so it'll dry. So when I do this paint in the shadowing, it's not going to just merge everywhere. Okay, so now that we have that down, that looks lovely. Let's go ahead and start painting our flowers. So I'm using a size, this is a size 6 brush, and I also have a size 4. I'm going to actually pick up the size 4 for my petals. Just to make it a little smaller, you can certainly do it with the size 6. I'll pick up the size 6 in a minute as well, but I just want to show you how. I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm just going to mix them up. Just a smaller end is going to let you get a little bit more narrow colors. Narrow shapes, I'm sorry, not narrow colors, narrow shapes. So I'm going to start moving this around. And this is a lot of the phthalo blue, which is a bit of a brighter blue. Now I don't want to leave it that bright blue though. I really am actually going to come in with a darker blue. So I'm going to pick up now that ultramarine blue and watch what happens too as I just start adding that in there. It's just a deeper blue. Isn't it beautiful? It's gorgeous. And so I'm just going to mix that in there. I'm even going to pick up a little bit of purple. And the purple is not going to look overly purple. It's going to just add to the depth of blue. I want almost a deep periwinkle blue. Then over here, I'm going to add in, I'll let this one remain a little bit more purpley over here. And then add in a bit of the blue. But you can really play with this depending on, you know, what colors, if you have hyacinths growing in your yard, or you saw some at the garden center or the nursery, or like me, you were out and about and saw them lined up and at a farmer's market maybe, or at a flower mart. They're just come in so many beautiful colors, but they are bold. Whatever color, if it's a pink, it's going to be a bold pink that I'm noticing. At least the ones that I'm seeing right now around me, they're very bold. It's that spring energy, right? Full of life, full of lots of color. I'm going to pick up even a bit of cerulean here on these ones over on this side, since we do have a few different ones here. And I'll even dab a little bit more up here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and then I'll move over to this other one over here now. I'm going to come up and then just dab, dab, dab with the smaller brush. And you can see I'm not really doing a size of a petal because it's so small on this side. I've got to be careful. So I'm just using the tip there and using my tip down. Now, if I was going to use the bigger brush, just so you can see that, what'll happen is it's just going to be harder. It's more of a rounded edge, right? So that's why I'm going to come back with that smaller size brush. We can play with what we have, but if you have a smaller brush, I recommend using a 4 that I'm using, or even a 2, and you can just take your time. If you have 15 minutes now and 15 minutes later, you know, you could really just take your time with each of the petals. However, I will say, if you want to add in another color, so you're really wanting to use a couple blues and a purple to really create that that depth of color, I would recommend you paint that certain section at the same time. So I'll take the purple in, because the paint has to be wet, right, for that beautiful merging to take place. And then, of course, as usual, leave a little bit of those white spots. Don't color everything in. The white is going to leave some room for the imagination and the mind to recognize the light that's reflecting off these beautiful, beautiful flowers. And moving around here. And my yellow had merged out a little bit, and that's okay. Okay, so that was looking really nice. Now, I love that bold, especially in the center of the flowers, and I want to come back over here and create that. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to pick up some more blue. I'm going to pick up some more purple, and I'm actually going to mix my purple with the blue on the palette. And then I'm just going to come back over here and making sure, let me come in closer. Is that, hopefully that's a little bit better for you to see that. I'm going to come back over here and dab a little bit more in here. Again, try not to cover everything up, but especially where I know the colors are a little bit more heavy. Okay, a little bit in here. Beautiful. Okay, let's pick up our green. We're about 10 minutes in, so this is good. I am going to pick up my larger paintbrush for the green. I'm going to come and grab my green paint. You can use any sort of spring green, so a permanent green. You can use a hooker's green. I would not recommend a sap green. It's going to be too warm and too kind of that swampy green color, which is great for other paintings, but not with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just start painting those beautiful stalks. And I noticed the hyacinth stalks are a little bit like the tulip ones, right? Where they're thick. Some of them kind of bend over like this, just like the tulip does. Now, if you have a stalk that's bending over, let me make sure you can see that you can good. You want to make sure that underneath where there's not as much light, you go ahead and make sure that this bottom part of the leaf is darker, right? Because it's in shadow. So make sure that's nice and dark. I'm going to come out here, just do a little bit more. I'm going to catch my stems here. When you paint this stem, make sure that your yellow is dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint these stems. And this guy right here. I had a stem coming up this way. Very nice. Now, what you might want to do is rinse your brush off really, really well. Pick up some of the yellow that we used for the background and go ahead and add it right to the middle of those stalks and create that beautiful yellow green center. That looks really nice, right? And you're just creating another bit of green here. Different shades of green that really creates a sense of realism in and depth in our stalks. And I know I feel like I've said it 100 times, but it's true. When you go and look at the stalks of the flowers outside in your garden, on your walks, even at the grocery store, look at all the different colors of green there are. There's lots of colors of green. There's not typically one color of green. And then you throw in, the effect of sunlight on them, or even artificial light from the room, and all of a sudden that picks up different colors. So I just added a little bit of yellow to that one because it would be catching the light, right? Now I'm going to come over here, and I am again going to I didn't even get any new paint. I'm just doing a light wash. I'm actually going to start, we'll put in some yellow over here, and then I'm going to pick up my green and come over and now start creating that stalk. And this one was a little bit more loose. I'm going to go ahead. I had not sketched the whole thing in, so now I'm going to go ahead and just sketch it in here. Going right into the pot, into our enlarged coffee cup, right? And then my stems. And you might want to pull out your smaller brush with this one, right? Since we have smaller stems for the one in the background. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to come right in here, and I'm just dabbing, and I'm being cognizant that my yellow is not totally dry in the background. And because I don't want yellow on my wall, I'm going to be very careful as I pull that paint down. Now if you want it darker, I'm just going to dab in in the center a little bit more paint and then let it go where it will. And if you want to let it dry, you can certainly do that as well. Okay, now a little green right here on this stem, don't want to forget that one. And coming over here too, making sure I have all my stems, making sure that every stalk has, you know, that bunch of flowers has a stem coming out of it. Sometimes I'll forget to get paint in my stems and it looks like I've got floating flowers, which, oh, I see I did that right over here. So if you did that too, make sure you just have a stalk for every group of flowers. Okay, very good. Now let's go ahead, we're gonna add in just a little bit, let's do a little bit of shadowing. I'm gonna pick up the purple and I need to create on that lip. I wanna go right up to the edge. I want a little bit darker here. I'll leave a little bit of white to where the sun, natural light might be catching and glistening off, but then I want to go ahead and go darker underneath that lip. And if a little bit of paint escapes, that is just fine. I don't need to do tons, I just want to do a little bit. I'm going to back off a little bit so you can just see that there. Okay, and then on this one as well, I'm going to take the purple, it's mixed in with a little bit of blue, and I'm going to go ahead to this lip. You notice my perspective was not perfect, but again, we're just playing with this, especially on this guy back here. That's okay. That is fine. Go ahead down below. And then we're going to need to do a little bit of shadowing. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, actually before, got this flower here, I'm going to mix in some purple with my yellow. So take a bit of your purple and then mix it in with the corner of your yellow, making sure you can see that. Purple and yellow create a really, they're opposites, and they actually will make a beautiful shadow. So I'm going to go ahead, mix my purple and my yellow, that way we don't have to introduce any new colors. And I am going to do a little bit of shadowing. Grab your paper towel too. I'm going to pick up a little bit more purple in mine, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to, this looks a little bit odd. We're going to actually mute it. I'm going to go underneath the flower because there will definitely be shadows. But if it feels too dark, take your soft cloth and just dab it a bit. We definitely have a shadow. If it's, you know, if it looks like in too much, just dab it. If it looks too yellowy, add more purple. It will almost look sometimes like too much purple, but don't be, that's okay, because after all, it is a shadow color. See how that looks a little bit better? It's darker, it's not quite so yellowy. So just a little bit of shadowing right over here where the sun's going to hit it. And I can see a shadow too where that plant would be making a shadow, and down here as well, this guy, this stalk is going to make a little bit of a shadow. We're just going to do them pretty light though. Then pick up some water, rinse your brush out, and then almost spread those shadows out a little bit more. That way, I'm going to rinse out my brush again. There we go. We don't usually do tons of shadowing in these paint with me sessions, right? Look what we're getting done today in just 15 minutes. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that shadow. I'm going to go to the edge of my table, and we're shadowing there a bit. I'm going to pick up a little bit more, and then down in here, I'm actually going to take this and then take a little bit of purple. I bet we're over 15 minutes though. I'm going to guess. We're going to peek at this right now, and I'm just going to create right in there. I'm going to a little bit more water. That way I don't have a big white splotch on mine. I have a little bit of yellow there, so I'm catching some light. And then just moving this color down. And I'm going to pick up just a bit of purple over here and do the same thing. Okay, there we go. Now what you might like to do is let the whole thing dry. I'm going to come back out now. And then come back in and see, okay, where else do I want to make some changes? But we did shadowing today. We have multiple colors. We have the light source coming up, or the light coming back and hitting the flowers, which is why we're going to have more shadows in the front, right? This is really nice. And we did this in less than 20 minutes today. We're just right at that 19-minute mark. So happy spring. Look at these beautiful flowers. If you don't have live flowers in your home right now, I suggest you pop that picture up on next to your desk, your bed, your bathroom mirror, and say hello to spring. And we'll keep painting.